Green Cooling scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Hello, good evening and welcome. It's midweek. It's my favourite night of the week other than Friday, because then you've got Saturday, which is my favourite day of the week. Anyway, we're here. It's 13 Pro-Am. I'm Dave Parkinson. We are going to be talking Challenge Cup Rugby League. We're going to be having some special guests, and I'm joined as always by the man who pushes the buttons, who makes everything sparkle. It's none other than Mr. Steve Beach. How are you doing, Steve? You all right?
I'm doing fine. Thanks, Parky. Do you know what? I thought I was sat next to Craig David then where you were going on. But yeah, it's been a great week. Cracking weekend. Obviously, we were out and about doing our commentary again, and it's got to be said. And I mean, no one biased. I really, really enjoyed it, and I think we had a successful day out. I mean, from the numbers that we got that were listening, very, very, very well, sort of dead made up with it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic day, first and foremost. One team played out of their skin. Well, to be fair, both teams played out of the skin, but one team was more clinical than the other, and it ended up being the Premier Division experience that told in the end. We'll tell you a little bit more about what happened in that game, but yeah, just to reflect on that, we couldn't have asked for the broadcast to have gone much better, and the fact that so many people out there joined us to listening to me and you waffling about a rugby league game. It's quite encouraging for the future, isn't it? And it really does paint the picture of why we're doing what we're doing with the show and taking it out to places and trying to we're trying to showcase what is out there in the community ranks, aren't we?
Yeah, and do you know what was good about it, apart from obviously the game itself and commentating on it, which I thoroughly enjoyed doing. Clockface, obviously we were the couple of weeks before for the first round game, but the club as a whole, how they bought into what we were doing, how they supported us, nothing was too much trouble for them. Absolutely superb. The other side of it, obviously from a Siddal point of view, they were coming in fresh from our point of view. You know what I mean? They weren't fully aware of what we were doing as such. But again, really accommodating, and you couldn't ask for to get off to a better start in that respect.
Yeah, my personal thanks go out to Mark and Sarah Costello for the way that they accommodated us, over there at Clockface, and to Joe McCormack for putting some notes together for us, and also the head coach of Siddal, Gareth English, who was absolutely fantastic. Great bloke to speak to. Bought into what we were doing. He's a guy I met at the back end of last season, actually, when I went up covering a game in our league for it was Siddal going up to play against Wathbrow. And that was a game for the ages, that one, and I had a good chat with him then, so it was nice to reacquaint and sort of tell him from our point of view how we're going about approaching these things. But we couldn't have asked for much better. And to be fair, we've got a good show lined up.
We certainly have.
Because we've got not one, but two interviews with referees. So in just a few minutes' time, you're going to be hearing an interview I did with Ryan Cox. Who's he, you may ask? Well, so did I, and we'll wait for him to tell everybody his job title. We spoke to match official Luke Flavell after the Challenge Cup tie. He was made up because it was his first Challenge Cup tie that he was refereeing, to be fair.
He had a very good game.
Excellent young referee. I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops, and you'll hear in the interview me say I kind of followed him round on a couple of the bookings, like at various games that I was at last year.
You've done that with another referee in the past, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, Sam Horton as well.
That's correct.
I seem to be following Sam around as well in all the fixtures, and we'll also hear. Because you get to meet some fantastic people when they're involved in community rugby. There's a lot of people that give an awful lot of time, effort, and it really means a lot to them. So we'll be hearing from a fantastic volunteer from Clockface in John Aspinall as well. So we've lined the show up. Before we crack on with regards to anything what happened on the field and our thoughts about it, I want to bring you our first interview. So here's my chat with Ryan Cox. So here on the 13 Pro Am Community Rugby League show, we do love speaking to people involved in the sport, and I'm delighted to be joined by a guest this evening, none other than Mr. Ryan Cox. How are you doing, Ryan? Are you okay?
I'm very well, Dave. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Now, what is your official title, by the way? Because I didn't want to get it wrong, and I thought I'd best not say it, just in case I do get it wrong and have to correct myself.
Oh, yes. So I'm the Match Officials Community Appointments and Development Officer at the RFL.
I mean, that sounds like quite a hefty role, really, to be honest, Ryan, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, it incorporates a hell of a lot, and I'm lucky to have a really supportive department, head of departments, and some volunteers as well, which makes the job a lot easier than it sounds.
I mean, I don't know about you. I'm really looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be an interesting one. I've already commented on a previous podcast last week that I went to my first. It was a Bala under-16s National Cup game last weekend, and it was the first time that I saw all the rules that are coming in that will be affecting the community game, and I think it might be one of these things which will take a little bit of getting used to, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a year of change for everybody, including match officials. Including all stakeholders in the game, players, coaches, parents. It's a massive change this year, and I just hope that everybody buys in. We've had some really good feedback from our match officials who've been out in the opening weeks, and just hopefully that it builds on that.
Now, I notice as well that, again, because I'm pretty active on the old social media, when I get sort of looking, that you've also been pretty busy at getting referees together, haven't you? Is that like a bit of a new approach, or is that something that you've done before?
So it sort of died out when COVID hit, that we couldn't get people together. So we've done a lot online in the last couple of years, but I made the decision late last year that we would get people back into a room, because we've got a real young group of community match officials now who probably haven't met a large group of a large proportion of the group. So I thought it was really important to get everybody back in a room. We've been lucky enough to have 3 or 4 sessions in person across the country now, which I think is an outstanding effort from everyone.
And I believe that it was 2 really well received conferences just this past weekend.
Yeah, so we started off in Hindley in Wigan on Saturday for the northwest side of that. So we had just over 100 in attendance there, which is a massive boost for me and makes me feel a little bit more at ease that everybody is buying into that. And then we went over to Yorkshire and went to East Leeds Rugby Club on the Sunday, where we had about 80 match officials there in the room. So that delivering the same messages across the country, which can only help aid us in delivering consistency. And
I think the fantastic thing is, you've taken them to community clubs anyway, haven't you? There.
Yeah, we're really lucky. We ran nearly 30 courses last year, match official courses, and they were all our community clubs, and we've been really, really fortunate for the generosity of them to some, not charging us at all, which is, to do that out of the goodness of the heart is outstanding.
So what sort of things did you get to discuss at these conferences?
So as you can imagine, the main topic was the tackle height stuff that the RFL has brought in this year in terms of that new law. But we covered a hell of a lot of things. We covered some sports psychology, some nutrition advice, some sports science advice. So the match officials have got a decent training plan in place. We had a great talk from Ian Smith and Jimmy Gittins from State of Mind. They were 2 really inspirational speakers that, a lot of our match officials took a hell of a lot from. And then we moved into the new interpretations for 2024, including the new tackle height laws.
I love the health and well-being side of it, if you don't mind me saying, because I don't hide behind the fact that in the past I have had my own mental health issues, and stuff which I've faced, and I've thankfully emerged on the other side of, but it's something that always remains strong, and I'm quite passionate in sort of talking about it. So it's really encouraging to hear that you've got State of Mind on board, obviously, with sort of the refereeing experience which Ian got during his time. I mean, he's an inspiration and must be an inspiration for a lot of younger match officials anyway.
Yeah, to have somebody in the room that has been there and done that. Excuse me, with that I'm assured that a lot of their goals are exactly what Ian did. So to have somebody who can deliver that talk, who's been there and done it, was outstanding.
And as well, the big elephant in the room is this new tackle technique, or shall we say, the lowering of the tackle height. And I suppose as well, another thing that I've seen a lot of is around the play the ball, and watching out, making sure that we've got foot on the ball for starters, which hasn't happened for quite a few years, if we're being totally honest, is it?
Yeah. Look, the tackle height is the big change, but we're also focused across the game, not just even in the community game, in the professional game as well, to tidy up the ruck area. We had some real strong directives at the start of the year, and as a group of match officials, I think we're in a really good place with that. So it'll just hopefully we get the player compliance moving forward into the year. It's going to be difficult to start with, but it can only get better.
And also as well, I've seen various pictures, of some of the full-time referees going out to Super League clubs, doing talks and working with players. And is that something that you're looking to actively do in the community as well?
Yeah, so we've started with York Acorn, have requested a number of visits. We've got local regional match official societies facilitating training sessions with clubs. I know Thato Heath have requested them in St Helens. We've had Wigan match officials go into some Wigan clubs in Huddersfield. They've got a massive community game conference of their own next week at Huddersfield, where all the clubs are invited. So we're doing some really good groundwork with all our community clubs to communicate with them all, and that's what it's all about, is communicating and educating everybody in the game. That's
really encouraging to hear, and again, if I just touch back on what you were saying regarding the conferences, I know that there's a lot of support within referee societies, and don't get me wrong, there's always those sort of like meetings which are held, isn't they, on a regular basis amongst the societies themselves. But it's nice to share experiences, and it's nice to sort of be alongside other people as well, like you were saying about. And the fact that we often forget as supporters of the sport, there's 3 teams that actually take the field on a rugby game, isn't there? There's the home side, the away side, and there's the match officials.
Yeah, absolutely. There could be 26 players there trying to win one over, but their match officials go out and do their best as a team, and they absolutely work for each other and are exactly the same as any other playing team.
And that's really, so it's really encouraging to hear, and the fact that, you're working hard on the communication. I mean, I know during COVID, I did one of the referees courses. I never actually got to go on a field, because at the time I felt that my fitness levels were absolutely nowhere near where they would need to be as a match official. For those who are perhaps uninitiated, just how fit do you have to be a match official these days?
Oh, nobody understands it. When you sit down and talk to people about the training that, the full-time group that we do in Manchester, and even the part-time officials who will do 8-9 hour days in work and then come on a Tuesday night and work their absolute socks off for another couple of hours and train and put some real tough runs in. People don't realise just the commitment and that fitness level you've got to be at your peak all the way through the year.
And I'm sure that that's something that, again, you're keen to sort of like share with other people, aren't you?
Absolutely. As we've been saying, that educating people on what match officials actually do and how much they love the sport is key, and hopefully that can, if we have one less issue on a game, then it's done its job.
I've got to ask you as well, as part of your role, because you'll have also seen a lot of the results of the head cameras which have come into effect over the last couple of years. I know they were trialled in the NCL, and then last year they were out game wide, weren't they, going up and down all different sort of age groups and stuff. In your opinion, has that been a success so far?
Oh, absolutely. The head cameras are a massive tool for us, and not just in terms of discipline as well. In terms of development, refereeing, we're not as rich as we were in volunteers sort of 4 or 5 years ago before COVID. So being able to sit down on a Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it is, to watch some footage is invaluable, really.
I've often thought myself as well that from a media point of view, some of that footage would actually be fantastic, with regards to what happens on a pitch and some of the decisions that you don't actually from the touchline. you don't appreciate just some of the skills that you're in a privileged position in a way, aren't you? So because you're watching games unfold and you're thinking, whoa, how's that happened? How's that ball come out there? And you must enjoy it as best as anybody.
Oh, absolutely. For even if one person sees, I didn't realise referees had to, get out of the way of the ball. When you stood on the sideline, it's not as quick as it looks, as it is in the middle. It doesn't look as quick as trust me, when you've got a 20-stone player running at you, you've got to get out of the way pretty quick. So to be able to watch them, and I would offer, I'd encourage anybody who has got a chance to use the State of Mind virtual reality headset to absolutely do so and see the speed at which a Super League game is played. Never mind a community game when you've got bigger blokes running at you. I
remember when that was being filmed, to be honest, because I think I was on that particular game for the League Express, because I remember I remember all those cameras around the referee's head at the time, and I was thinking, how's he going to referee this game with all these cameras pointing at him as well?
Yeah, and if there's ever a referee to do it, Marcus was always the person to do it. He can do things other people can't on a rugby pitch.
See, I can tell just speaking to you that you love rugby league as much as me.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? Any match official that tells you they don't love rugby league is lying, because the commitment that you put into it, and there's some low times as a match official. Don't get me wrong, but then them highs when you can walk out on a final or on a big game, then there's nothing that can quite compare to it.
I'd like to think that, when you do talk about these low times, and, it was very encouraging seeing, Marcus Griffiths open up at a point last season where he received some absolute terrible abuse. I mean, the sort of stuff that if you did that to someone in a workplace, you would get you get marched out for starters, but you could end up going in front of courts and all sorts. It was absolutely atrocious. So how do you prepare mentally, for an idiot?
Luckily, we're in terms of the full-time squad and full-time group, we are a really tight-knit group. We've got some really good support staff, some really good psychologists that work with us from Liverpool John Moores University, and the support is there. The head coaches, the coaches are all massively supportive of that, and promoting mental wellness. So I think that's a massive side of it.
And I'm also thinking, from a community point of view, because obviously I'm involved with the England Lions programme, and one of the things that as a programme we're always keen to push out is that when you get a player involved in that, they can take, hopefully, what they're learning, some of the things that they're doing, back to their own clubs to bring on the community game. I suppose you guys can do that as well, can't you? And get out amongst the other societies and start spreading the word in that respect.
Absolutely, the match official societies are sort of probably the biggest part of our department. They're on the ground with our community match officials and see them every week, every month, whatever it may be, and they can offer some real good support, and we've got some really supportive members of them groups, and that's really encouraging to see.
And then just finally, I know that you're always looking at more match officials, more people putting their names forward. I'm guessing that there's going to be courses being run. There's things that are happening at the moment on that score, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of my job, I sort of look after our recruitment as well of match officials, and that's a massive area of our game. We've never got enough match officials, and until we can tell people in the middle of the summer, you're okay, have a week off, then we'll keep recruiting. And putting match officials courses on. So we're hoping that sort of the eve of the Super League season beginning, we'll be able to announce probably our biggest recruitment drive for 2024, which will lead all the way up to the end of the season.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, hopefully. We've got to dot the I's and cross the T's yet, but hopefully we'll be there on the eve of the Super League season.
Well, keep us in mind as well, and we'll continue to put the word out as well, Ryan.
Oh, absolutely, Dave. You're always welcome to come on to one of our courses as well and take up the whistle.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking, because I am getting a little bit fitter. I don't know whether I've got match official fitness yet, but
Oh well, you're always welcome, and we host some good regional sessions as well, as I mentioned earlier, that are invaluable to younger members of our groups and people that want to get a fitness session in a week. We it's a really tight knit group, especially in the northwest. We've got one in Yorkshire, one in Cumbria, so that they're all the people with the same aim, same goals. So we're a really tight knit group.
And just out of interest, because I know you guys don't get interviewed that often, so I suppose getting someone like me on the other end of a phone, sort of throwing loads of questions at you, can be a little bit off-putting. But was there anything you was thinking I might have asked you, which I haven't done?
Oh, what? Who the worst player is, and who the worst player is to officiate, and nobody likes to answer that question because nobody can.
I would not put you on the spot like that, because I know there's some right gobby so-and-sos that are out there, and I sometimes think, how do match officials even keep their temper when, there's guys that are in their ear all the time? But it's I think that, you go above and beyond, to be fair, in the role that you do, and all the guys that do the officiating in rugby league.
Yeah, we love the sport and we wouldn't do it for any other reason. And I think everybody is in the same boat of just having a real passion and want to make the sport as big as it should be. And, we'll keep doing that until it is.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Great speaking to you.
Thanks, Dave.
How was that
From players,
was that all right?
referees and competitions, to clubs and playing fields, we talk about the lot on the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League show.
Well, that was insightful, wasn't it?
Tell you, it makes a change, doesn't it? But like he said, and like you said to him, we spoke to a few referees in the past. I mean, we've been fortunate in that respect. But in the main, whether it be the professional game, whether it be community, I mean, very few people get to sort of have a chat to and how did they start into getting, picking up the whistle, as it were, rather than picking up a rugby ball. I mean, there's those types of things about it as well, and like he said, you wouldn't do it if you didn't like rugby, would you?
No.
I mean, first and foremost, you've got to, have that drive to do that. I mean, and I mean, absolutely superb.
Hopefully it's the first of many conversations that we're going to be having with match officials over the course of the season, and none of them involving disciplinaries.
Yeah,
not for us anyway.
I mean, it's certainly, obviously this season it's been a little bit more insightful in the sense of there's been a bit more reason around, I suppose, for them to speak to us with regards to the laws that have changed and been brought in. I mean, it's been, sort of, we talk about, how many times do we talk about clarity and being transparent? I mean, it's great that they have come on and have a chat about things. And obviously, like I was saying during the week, the initiative were, you were down at Latchford, and there was a referee down there with the Latchford team during the training sessions, helping them to get used to the rules and the new laws that have been brought in. Obviously freshening up the old ones as well, because both have got to learn. The teams have got to learn, and the referee's got to have that practice of making sure that he gets it right. Because, like they said, that he gets it wrong, he gets the stick off everybody. I mean, if a player gets a pass wrong, how many times do they get shouted at? Very, very little, do they? Relatively speaking, in that respect.
Now, Steve mentioned a conversation that I had with Warrington match official Ollie Maddock. That's available over on our 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League YouTube channel, which we are expanding over the course of this season. So there'll be little videos that'll be appearing throughout. Steve's already been out and got the foundation, haven't you? So that, it's all right. You'll be all right next time you appear on the video.
Yeah. I've got to say, I mean, I'm looking forward to doing those, to be fair, because like we've just been having a chat beforehand about various places that we're looking at going this season, and as well as doing commentary and obviously, hopefully, doing more of our podcasts on the road like we did at Clockface last week. We loved that, absolutely superb. We need to do more of that. Obviously, get some videos of these clubhouses and pitches, etc., that we talk about so often, but obviously we very rarely see.
I know, so we're just out for making things bigger, making things better, speaking to more people, and I made up that someone like Ryan has had such a good chat with us, and we've got someone who I think really enjoyed that conversation. So he's on my contact list again now, so for future reference. Right, so it has been a big weekend of Challenge Cup action. We were over at Clockface on Saturday. This was Clockface miners who had made their way through to the second round following a defeat of Heworth. This time they were up against a step up in opposition in Siddal, it would be fair to say. Siddal using all their experience and no little pace as well, it must be said, to eventually run out by 38 points to 4 victors. This was after Clockface actually took the lead for the first time, didn't they?
They did, yeah. We thought at the first there was a couple of things happened. Obviously, Clock scoring, then Siddal were on the attack, and they made a silly, I think it might have been a play the ball error, and we were sort of thinking, gosh, it's exactly the same as the youth game the week before. Is it going to go that way? But unfortunately for Clockface, it didn't, and Siddal, once they got into the stride, because obviously it was their first competitive game of the season, once they got into the stride and they relaxed, some of the rugby they were playing was really sublime.
So Jimmy Jones opened the scoring as far as Clockface miners were concerned, but by the time half time had sounded, it was 16 points to 4 in favour of Siddal, and the crucial one for me was the score right on the stroke of half time, and then the goal which made it 16 points to 4, because up until that stage you were thinking Clock is still in with a good chance here, aren't they?
Yeah, they defended really, really well. They were resilient, but we were saying, hopefully they can get in the sheds where it's not too far adrift. And even if they could have scored themselves, would have made it even better. Lo and behold, it went the other way for Siddal, and it then became not unsurmountable, but obviously it became a lot more difficult then when they came out for the second half.
Yeah, so in that first half, Oliver Lewis had scored, and then he turned try provider right at the end for Jamie Greenwood when he went over. Sam Walsh added a try in between times, and Lewis Hosty kicked a couple of goals as well. Into the second half, it was looking like Clockface were going to open the scoring, but the Siddal defence just stepped up to its task, really got amongst the Clockface side, didn't really give them much room to manoeuvre, and then when they stepped up, it was impressive. I mentioned about players scoring 2 tries at once, they were like buses, weren't they? So Lewis goes over for his second, Greenwood goes over for his second, Walsh gets his second, and then Walsh tore away near the end, didn't he, for his hat-trick score. Hosty ends up kicking 5 goals, 38 points to 4. I was impressed with Siddal for a first effort of the season. Yeah,
same as was saying, Parky. Once they got those, certainly at the beginning of the second half, they seemed to, repel Clockface, and I think once they felt confident that they felt Clock aren't going to score here, we're going to be able to keep them out. They started to throw the ball about, and some of the movements, and then obviously once the guys on the flanks got that gap and got away, there was some pace there, and they scored some absolutely superb tries. Saying that, though, there was one man on the pitch who I thought was head and shoulders. He was a beast in defence, and sort of just tore up the meters on attack, and that was the loose forward Ramsden.
Oh, he was excellent, wasn't he, Ramsden? He had a really top game. Who else impressed you when you were sort of looking through that lineup? I was quite impressed with the starting hook and May. I thought that he got through a lot of work before Greenwood came on.
Yeah, obviously the prop Smithies, who's obviously related to Wiggins' good friend, he's now over to Canberra.
He's gone to Canberra, yeah.
He was solid, laying the platform, but the two, the Hosty, from his kicking point of view, obviously he had plenty of chances there, but his actual game, coming into the line, trying to bring the winger in and making that extra man was really good. And Lewis, from his try scoring feats early on, out to settle things down. But in the main, considering it's the first knockout, if they can take that forward into further on into the Challenge Cup, and obviously into the NCL season, they could well be, again back up there amongst where they were a couple of seasons ago when we sort of looked on them and think, well, these guys are going to be top fivers at least for the few seasons to come. Last season they struggled a bit, but they've got a couple of people come back. And it's just looking good for them.
And if you look for it from a clock face point of view, we built up Tom Taylor, didn't we? And the fact that it was his last game, we thought there'd be a lot of emotion. I got the feeling that his teammates, they really did stick out there for him, didn't they? He was excellent. Himself, wasn't he?
He was. He didn't take a backward step. He was in the. We were on about before about being in the referee's ear. He was always having a good claim to the referee about was it an interference of the play of the ball. But he was in the solid as a rock. Full back price. Not as effective as the a couple of weeks before, but still. When he's in and around the ball, you don't know what to expect. Anything could happen.
Well, he got the kick in, didn't he, for the try which was scored by Jimmy Jones in the first place.
That's right. And Gareth at scrum half was trying to find gaps, etc. But Siddal's defence was rock solid. After that first error early doors.
Yeah, as I say, it was a really enjoyable game. Again, another big crowd in attendance. Huge. There must have been about 900 there, I think, this time. Even 1,000.
Well, we were obviously from the weeks before we were saying, they're drifting behind the post.
Yeah.
Well, before the kick-off, they were there. The other side, the away side, was absolutely chock-a-block. And got to say thanks very much to on behalf of Clockface and Siddal as well. Who turned up to watch the match, because it's, as we said, we do our best and we will do the commentary and we enjoy doing that, but there's nothing better than getting out and watching these guys play, and they appreciate it because it makes it a massive event for them in that respect.
Let's have some more post-match reaction now, shall we? So first of all, we're going to hear from the successful Siddal boss, Gareth English.
That was an impressive performance from Siddal. You must be quite happy from a point of view that that's your first game.
Yeah, very, very, very happy with that performance. I thought we started off a bit sluggish, but we'll do first game of the season. So we've only been back in camp 3 weeks. But we scored some really nice tries, and most pleasing thing for me was the defence. They scored from a kick. The rest of the time, I think we were quite comfy, even defending his own line. So that's the biggest pleasing thing for me. We've done a bit of work on D, so obviously that's worked today. So I'm happy with that.
You also was saying prior to it that you're right, you're still at a really early point of the season for you, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a bit mainly the Challenge Cup for us at the minute was just to get some minutes under the belt for the forwards, especially the forwards, and get some ball in hand. We've got a new half-back combination back end of last season, so it's nice to get them another run out today. New centre we've tried out today, so yeah, it's just nice to let them have a feel for it, see how they link up, and we can build on that.
And nice when you had lads like Sam Walsh who are missing large proportions of the last couple of years, really, hasn't he? Crossing for a hat-trick. He's got speed to burn, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. The lad works hard. I can't knock him. He's first at training and probably the last one to go, and he's always doing extras, so it's fair play to him. Yeah, he's committed. He's had it, like I say, missed most last season, and he's come back this year and he's biting a bit. So yeah, really happy to have him back involved with us.
And again, just sort of take us through, because from a forward point of view, are you happy with the way they got stuck into?
Yeah, I thought our forwards played well today. They did a lot of tackles, numbers in tackles that we've been working on. Thought the goal forward was good. A bit of work to do, but for the first hit out, very, very happy with the forwards today. And
I suppose as well, you've got someone like Kane and Smithies who everybody looks up to, haven't you?
Yeah, Kieran's like the leader of the pack. He's the oldest man now in the pack, so he don't like being known as that. He's come from when I was playing to be the kid in the pack, to be the man that dexters around the field. Yeah, but it's a guy to look up to. If you're in a trench and you need taking off your own line, Kieran's normally the man that does it. And if there's somebody doing a last-ditch tackle, it's normally Kieran as well. So the guys look up to him in the pack. He's a good leader to have.
Yeah, sorry, Kieran, I didn't mean to sort of rub that in. That you're getting on a bit in rugby league years now, son. But what are you sort of like now hoping for moving into the season? Because that's got a pretty good benchmark for game number 1, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good start. First 20, a bit scrappy, but after that, the last hour, I thought we were really good, clinical. every time we had a chance, we took the chance, which is what we've been telling them. Keep playing with your eyes up, don't just play the structure, play with your eyes up, take the opportunities. So yeah, I thought we really good hit out. Tougher games to come, obviously. Hopefully get a nice home tie against a pro team now, see how we go against them, and then just keep building towards that 3rd of March, which is the first league game.
And I think it's those little things as well. So the noticeable thing, and for me the main difference between both sides, was your kick chase. Your kick chase was much more clinical.
Yeah, we've been out of the Moncus last year. We were a bit slack on it. We see like we kicked the ball and that were it. Job were done. Once you've done that with the ball, you've got to D it up, haven't you? So yeah, the kick chase has been massive, and that's what we've been working on. Make sure we get there in numbers and not get them an easy way out.
And finally, your thoughts of coming, like down here. Is this your first visit to Clock?
No, I was coaching last time we played here 5 years ago. Actually.
Really?
It's a bit better weather today, to be honest. Last time we come, it was like a mud bath. It was bouncing down all day. A bit of a mud bath, and it was a tough slog. You've got to pay massive credit to Clockface. They've come from Division 3 to Division 1 in 5 seasons. That's massive for any club. Anybody would be happy with that. So, and the fans here today, obviously they've got a massive club, they've got a good fan base, they're building up loads of juniors. I mean, I take my hat off to them, they're a great club and they're up and coming, and I won't be surprised in the next couple of years if they're not in the Premier with us.
And to be fair as well, they couldn't ask for better role models and looking towards Siddal themselves, could they?
No, but we try to do everything right and for the right reasons, as all the Conference League sides do. We're all in it for the right reasons. We all want to beat each other on the match day, but after 80 minutes we'll go in bar, we'll have a drink, we'll have a chat about the game, and that's what it's about. And that's what I enjoy about the game.
Speaking of which, I'll go and let you have that deserved drink. All right.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Rugby League's secret weapon, Green Cooling, scores with the 13 Pro-Am Community Rugby League Show.
Great to hear from Gareth there, wasn't it? And I think he did get that deserved drink in the end. I think I let him go.
Lovely bloke. Really, really nice bloke. He came over. I mean, we didn't have to go chasing or anything like that. He came over. In fact, I think he was stood there on our shoulder when we were packing, some of the things away. And obviously, what he was saying there was, he was absolutely spot on. The kick chase game was really good. Where Clock Faces was certainly in the first half was lax. They got onto it a bit better in the second half, where they made the fullback Hosty take it on the full. In the first half, he was no problem. He could get really quick meters, etc. But their tackling and then the distribution, getting out to the wings, and got pace to burn there at the sides.
It was interesting hearing what he was saying about the two halfbacks and them still being a pretty new pairing, because they looked
and
like
Hancock, yeah,
they looked like they played alongside each other for ages, didn't they?
They did. I thought that. I mean, I was surprised to hear when he was saying that at the end that they were a new pairing, which is bodes well if they're they're cementing the combinations together that well so early on.
I know about that for Rugby League symmetry again, the fact that he was the coach last time they played at Clockface. And what's even worse, I didn't know that. He was like telling me. I was like, really?
There you go. Something Parky doesn't know.
I know. I like it. I like getting bits of knowledge. That's where it is. Steve. So yes, so that was Gareth English after Siddal's 38 points to 4 win against Clockface. Now, I do want to at this point bring in John Aspinall, who is a fantastic fella. He couldn't do enough for us. He really did help us get the broadcast up and running and make sure that we could do our bit, didn't he? With getting sorted with. We had like a wooden plinth, didn't we, underneath our broadcast position?
Yeah. Our scaffolding, we need obviously some secure footings for it to go on, and it was a little bit soft underfoot, as you might say. And he managed to sort us out with a nice wooden board to put it on, which he'd sorted out from the week before, if I wasn't wrong.
He did, yeah.
And obviously knew we were coming along, and had got it all ready for us to sort out. Great bloke, and how many times do we say that there's these types of guys up and down all these community clubs, and all community clubs need these types of guys who do these jobs that need to be done. Very, very important. If they're not, and ironically, it's when they're not done, that's when it gets noticed. That's
when you notice it. Yeah. And to be fair, he'd been over at the ground on this day since about 9 o'clock in the morning, because there was 2 kids games of football being played on the pitch just behind the clubhouse on the other side. So, he'd already done a day's work, hadn't he, by the time he ends up speaking to me. And I just thought, well, because he'd been so helpful, I thought, let's ask him, let's see if he'll come on, let's see if he'll talk a little bit. So, this is my conversation with John Aspinall.
Okay, who have I got with me?
John from Clough-Face Rugby.
So, John, I know that, you're a very appreciated figure around these parts, aren't you? You're often the busiest man on a match day. No. Give us an idea of what your job role is.
It's looking after the rugby team, setting the pitches out, do the changing room, make sure they've got the rugby balls and water.
And I know that you've really helped us today because you've allowed us to, using a wooden base. Otherwise, we'd be tipping up all over the place and on our commentary. So, thank you very much for all that you've done for us over the last couple of games. Yeah. Tell us how long you've been involved down here.
About 46 years.
46 years. Wow. So I bet you've seen some cracking teams down here, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
How does this team that you've got now rate with those?
Oh, there's some good players and that, and some good players in the past.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit more about yourself, because you've got other things that you've been involved in. Where you've been honoured by St Helens, haven't you?
Yes, I've been honoured by the pride of St Helens, and I'll look forward to any more awards to come with the job.
And I think it would be fair to say as well that there's a couple of pictures knocking around of you looking very, very dapper, going to really flashy do's, to be honest.
Yeah, I was. I enjoyed it. My family went with me and all. Mike and other committee members.
And when did you find out about that you'd been honoured for it, or you got named to go?
Well, actually, I was shopping.
You were shopping?
And I got a phone call on my phone.
So, John, I think we've had a really, really good start to the season.
Yeah.
I think that, from a Clough-Face point of view, you've got some top young players that are coming through. I think it's going to be a good season, isn't it?
Yeah, and the brass band did well today and all.
Yeah, they did. Siddal were just that little bit too strong today, weren't they? What did you think that they look a good side, don't they?
Well, they're in National Conference Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you're not going to be coming up against teams like that every week, are you? Which is another thing.
Well, in a couple of seasons, we might be.
Well, yeah, and I think we were talking to Gareth before, the coach of Siddal, and he was saying about how far Clough-Face have come in just a few short years since joining the National Conference. So, like you're saying, you're only a step below the Premier Division, aren't you?
Yes. So, if things go well this season, we might be in playoffs again.
Fingers crossed. All right, John, thank you so much. Thanks again from our point of view for all the help you've given us. And I've enjoyed speaking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
There you go. That's the interview with John Aspinall. And I've just had a look. I just googled John with regards to what he was saying there about the Pride of St Helens Ward, and this is what they said about it. He said John Aspinall is a much loved figure at Clough-Face Miners who's been volunteering at the Rugby League club for the past 40 years, walking or travelling by bus to the club every single day. John helps out with a multitude of tasks that often go under the radar.
Definitely, and without people like John that are involved right up and down in our community game, it doesn't happen, does it?
It doesn't, and like we were saying, we spoke to Mark about it's important for the club point of view to with regards to trying to get give the kids something to go to, and because obviously there's the big estates etc around there where there's a lot of kids, and giving them opportunities. The other side of that, obviously, I mean you've got John there who loves going down to the club. It's not just about rugby, is it? At the end of the day.
Also, as well, he won't realise what an influence he's having on everybody else at that club. Yeah. You know, because that sort of work ethic, going into somewhere every single day, getting out at, you know, early hours, going back home, you know, later evenings and stuff like that. Even if that rubs off on just a group of the children, then they're going to be well set up for life, aren't they? Yeah. With that sort of work ethic behind them, you know. So I think it is fantastic, and I really loved speaking to John. I know perhaps not the most comfortable of interviewees that there ever will be, and I think that's the first time anybody stuck a microphone in front of him. But again, we like to put people. We like to include people, don't we? And we're all about inclusivity on this show. We're all about putting forward rugby league and community rugby league in its best footing. And when you've got somebody like that who is as committed as they are, then we deserve to be talking about them.
Yeah, because last week when we was at Clockface, when we finished and we were packing up and putting everything away, John was in the room and he was having a good chat with us. One day we were talking about the pictures on the wall on the mural, and he was saying how many different teams he was, you know, on the pictures with on that wall, and you know, these types of guys and women as well, you know, the heartbeat of community clubs. And it's not just, as we say, it's not just about the playing the game and the rugby in that respect. You can't do it without having these people there to support you and do those jobs that need to be done.
Now, he gave an excellent mention as well to the band that was playing beforehand. So this was a brass band. Again, I'd had a conversation with John previously in the fact that I grew up with my granddad being very, very committed to brass bands in particular. I was a regular at Formby Hall, which for those people who are listening who are thinking, where's Formby Hall? It's near Atherton, you know, so not that far away from Leigh. We never got that far from home, to be fair. And they had regular brass band concerts there. And I remember also going with me granddad on Whit weekends.
That's right, yeah.
When they used to have the bands, the marching bands going through the villages near Oldham.
Yeah, well, a lot of the bands obviously came from the pit areas. Obviously, we're at Clockface Miners there. Over in Leigh, you would have had the same as well. And so a lot of the brass bands came up in around those, you know. So, again, another community thing.
Very much so, you know. So we've also got to pay tribute to the Clockface Miners Heritage Brass Band, which was playing before the game. And to be fair, I don't know whether you might have heard it on the podcast last week, because they were practising, weren't they, in the back room?
They were, yeah. And I know they were, when the second half kicked off on Saturday, they were still playing when the second half was underway, so you had a little bit of it was like the West End with the musical adaptation of Up and Under by John Godber.
Oh, absolutely fantastic, so yes, now finally, just to round off our trip to Clockface, well, we spoke to the match official. We said we were going to be speaking to match officials up and down the league this year and up and down the community game. And I'm delighted that we're going to be hearing from Luke Flavell now, another promising rugby league match official that is coming through the ranks.
Okay, so with match referee Luke Flavell. Luke, how did you find that game?
It was great. First 20 was tight as I expected. Players worked very well for the whole game. Siddal, with the Premdiv expertise, just ran away with it in the second half.
And, you know, I think as well, all the players seem to work really well with you.
Yeah. I've worked with Clockface quite a few times. Siddal have ref punts, but the players, especially the middles, all communicate well. The edges, of course, you need to work with edges, but that's the same as any team. But yeah, everyone was just working really well and communicating well.
And to be fair as well, considering I know there's been a big emphasis on around the play of the ball and markers and things like that, I know they made you work a little bit harder for them and you picked up quite a few things what was going on. But again, there was probably not as many stoppages that I've seen in recent games in that one.
No, with a cup game we don't want to pull everything. We like to get a bit of a flow to games, and especially with these two teams who just wanted to play rugby. That's what we tried to achieve as a team.
So I love when I get able to chat to a referee, because I don't do enough of these. We don't do enough of these sort of chats with you guys, to be honest, because let's be fair, when you go out on a rugby field, there's 3 teams. So you've got your match official team and there's a home and an away side. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been refereeing? What got you into it?
So I've always been interested in refereeing since I was 10, and finally got the opportunity at 14, but sadly due to COVID I missed out on a few. But I've been grading out for 3 years. It's my first Challenge Cup game in the middle, and I really enjoyed it.
I know there was certainly one point over the last couple of years where I'm thinking, I've got nearly all of your bookings, so I seem to be following you around, and we've had quite a few chats, haven't we, without doing anything like this before.
Yeah, especially with the Community Lions, that was a few, and Lee Miners. There's a few good games back then.
So, how did you get into refereeing? What made you decide, right, I want to step into it?
So, funnily enough, it was after a Super League game. I spoke to Phil Bentham about it when Phil was still refereeing. I just thought I'd like to give it a try, and then got into it. I've not looked back since.
And I know that there's it seems like, from a referee's point of view, there's a lot more things going on this year, so I saw recently on Twitter there'd been a couple of conferences. Did you go along to the one that was held?
I was at the online one, which was just a breakdown of the new rules. I didn't go to the Hindley one because it worked well, sadly.
Okay. But it's nice to see those things are starting to be a bit more available, isn't it?
Us, where we're getting a lot of tips on how we're doing and what we can do better.
And I think in a lot of ways you're like any player, aren't you? You're developing all the time.
Yeah, we try our best to. We don't want to get in the way of games. That's what most people usually think when we're blowing our whistle all the time. But it's just a learning curve on when to give the penalties and when not to give the penalties, when to get involved, how you talk to players.
Because, let's be honest, you could find probably 50, 60 penalties a game, couldn't you, if you wanted to?
Sometimes. Yeah.
So you've got to work around, because ultimately you want to be enjoyed. You don't want to be blowing a whistle every 2 minutes if you can help it, really, do you? You want to enjoy a game as well. And I'm thinking as well, because over the last couple of years we've seen head cameras come into effect a lot more. Obviously you had a head camera on today. How do you find wearing those, and also what do you get from them? I
don't think there's much difference when I'm wearing it and when I'm not wearing it. I think it's how you talk to the players. I think if you have a good rapport with the players, it doesn't matter whether you have a head cam or not. They just help for disciplinary reasons.
And I'm guessing as well they're good for development reasons.
Yeah.
Does that mean you can look at how you're communicating?
Yeah, we can look after games. We can have a look at the head cam, see where we're going, see what we need to improve on, see it positioning.
So I know you sort of said to me before, there'll probably be a review done on this, so what type of things get spoke about at these reviews?
Yeah, so it's just key moments in the game. So I'll go through it with whoever's reviewing me. They'll go through the game, send me some notes, then we'll go through it together.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.
So how interesting is that you now get to go through the game with somebody, or somebody another referee goes through the game and then gives them feedback?
That's great. That's how you learn, isn't it? At the end of the day,
and it's just like in the professional ranks, you know, where you go through video, and you do video, and you have your review, and you then take forward what came from that review.
Yeah, because there's nothing feedback. As long as you're getting feedback, whether it be good or bad, as long as it's constructive, and you can learn from it. So your next game, you feel your game, you're more confident, because that's a huge part. Because obviously, if you've got all these guys talking to you and getting in your ear, etc., and you can feel confident about controlling those people, because he's only a young bloke, and a lot of those players would have been a lot older than, quite a bit older than me in some respects. But being able to manage them, and I thought he did it really, really well. I wouldn't have said that he'd only been refereeing not that long, really. because the game as a whole was really, really good. And we'd been there the week before, and we had who was it? Referee?
It was Warren Turley who was refereeing. Yeah,
that's it. Who was very good, and you wouldn't have put much between them in that sort of sense, you know, sort of length of times, because that's how good they were. And you know what? Both those games that we've watched out at Clockface, I mean, good crowds. It could, you know, it's so easy for fans to get onto the referee, and I wasn't aware that. I mean, there was odd bits and bobs here, but in the main, he was fair for both sides. Like you said, at the end of the day, you want a spectacle, and certainly when you've got a crowd like that who turn up to watch a game, they want to watch an open game of rugby.
And I think, it's really good that we've been able to get this feedback, you know, like from Luke and from Ryan before as well. It bodes well, doesn't it? It bodes to a new generation of referees that are coming through the systems, and hopefully, you know, we get to see good games, and we hope everybody learns over the course of the season.
Yeah, and just to add a bit of clarity to this, we're not here to stitch anybody up.
Oh, definitely not.
The bottom line, what we want to do is to be a conduit to help. You know, if they've got any information they want to get over, or if they want to explain things to us, yeah, no problem at all. That's we'd certainly love to hear that, and I'm sure, you know, that from my point of view, even in the professional game, that's what should be happening. Then you've got some clarity on things.
Very much so, very much so. So the other results around the Challenge Cup weekend just gone. Doncaster Tollbar 18, West Hull 40. It was quite close at half time, 24 points to 8 in that one to West Hull. And they just managed to pull away in the second half from the Yorkshire Men's League opponents. Freiston Warriors, they proved no match for Hunslet ARLFC. Hunslet chalking up 66 points to 0. Craig McShane scoring a hat-trick. In fact, it's like usual suspects, really. Craig McShane grabbing a hat-trick for Hunslet, a couple of tries for Ben Shulver, and a couple of tries for Tyler Dargan. Yes, he's back, and he's over the line a couple of times. I think it was 27 tries that he scored in total last season, and he's already got 2 to his name so far in 2024. Perhaps one of the more surprising results of the Challenge Cup second round came at Hammersmith Hills Hoists, with them defeating West Bowling by 32 points to 10. The Hoists, well, Condon scored a couple of tries, Strasser, West, Previtt and Tyler also got scores. Morrissey booted 4 goals. For Bowling, Fontaine and Baker were the try scorers, with the lone goal from Coe. And then it was Hull Dockers 0, Wathbrow Hornets 38. So the Hornets grabbing a couple of tries through Moore. Walker Taylor getting in on the act. Kerwin going over for 3 tries. Rooney also going over for a try, with Walker Taylor adding 5 goals as well. He's a prolific scorer. He's Walker Taylor. Over at Lee Miners Rangers, there was a bit of a cup classic which took place in front of the BBC camera, and they finished Lee Miners Rangers 18, Stanningley 19, and it was a drop goal about 10 seconds from time by fullback Butterill, which settled the tie. So Miners, they scored tries through Gorst, Pilkington, Grimes and Lancelot, with Pilkington adding a goal. For Stanningley, a couple of tries there for Shires, 1 for Davison, 3 goals from Taylor, and the all-important drop goal as well, which went the way of Stanningley from the boot of Butterill. Over at Lock Lane, Edinburgh Eagles Challenge Cup hopes ended quite abruptly. Lock Lane really running in the points in the second half, by the way. It was 26-0 at the break, finished 72 points to 0. Moon grabbing a couple of tries, Bloomer grabbing 3, Price, Appleby, Cranswick also scoring 2 tries apiece. Holmes and Maskell with the other scores. Butler kicking 8 goals, Fozzard kicking 2. And there was another perhaps surprising result as well on the road, where Rochdale Mayfield, who had such an outstanding season last time out, were probably expected to do the business against their Southern Conference League opposition. But West Warriors won by 28 points to 22. So the Warriors, they had a hat-trick from Walker. Other tries from Nahu, Payne and Large. Walker kicking a couple of goals as well. For Mayfield, Devlin, Long, Slater and Newsham grabbed 2 tries, with Park kicking 3 goals. Mayfield were actually in front at half-time in that one as well by 12 points to 8. And then we saw a couple of outstanding ties on Sunday. So Orrell St James against York Acorn. York Acorn scoring after just a few seconds of play to open the scoring. Eventually winning by 22 points to 12. So St James scoring through Gallagher and Kelk. Callan kicking a couple of goals for York Acorn, though. They got the spoils. Hunt, Anthony Chilton, Worthington, Shepherdson going over for the tries, with Ant Chilton kicking 3 goals. And then an impressive win on the road. So Thatto Heath Crusaders spent most of Sunday morning travelling to get down to Portsmouth. A fantastic effort from them to come up against the Royal Navy, and they came out with a 32-24 win. High scoring, so the Navy grabbed tries through Butler, Jewell, Ray and Bartlett, with Chambers kicking 4 goals, but it wasn't enough to upset the Thatto Heath Crusaders, who had tries themselves through Saunders, 2 from Pike, Hunt, Hesketh and Holroyd also going over, McGann kicking 4 goals, and impressively Thatto were able to overturn what was a low scoring first half. They trailed by 6 points to 4 to come up with a spectacular result in the end. So that was the scores. It was on to the draw, and Steve, who got who and where?
Right, so let's run through the draw. The Betfred Challenge Cup round 3 fixtures and the list in full. Sheffield Eagles, they will take on Newcastle Thunder. Batley Bulldogs, they will be up against Workington Town. North Wales Crusaders travel over to Odsal and the Bradford Bulls. York Acorn, for their endeavours and their win, are all the way down to sunny Cornwall. That's one hell of a travel.
It's a cracking trip, that one.
Then we've got Keighley Cougars, they're up against Hunslet. Halifax Panthers, they will take on Whitehaven. Stanningley, well, they will welcome Wasbrow Hornets.
That's a big tie for Stanley, isn't it?
Very. It's strange, because I was saying to you before we came on air, Parker, I said I think it's the first time I've watched the third round draw. Obviously it was on the red button, and I'm watching ties come out, and I saw Stanningley versus Wasbrow, and I thought, oh yes, that's going to be a tasty one there. And I thought, am I getting into this game, or am I getting into this game? Yeah.
See, it grabs you. It does grab you, Steve.
Yeah. And then we've got Swinton Lions. They will take on West Hull.
See, Swinton won't have things all their own way in that game, I don't feel. No. West Hull are really, really decent.
Yeah, and then Siddal, who obviously we saw get the victory over Clotface. Well, they've got the home side that they wanted against Wakefield Trinity. And I'm hearing today on the grapevine that they're actually going to be playing the game at Siddal.
Now that would be absolutely fantastic. That being played at Chevenedge, I mean, it's a great venue, isn't it? And to be fair, this is what the cup's all about.
Yeah, very much so. Dewsbury, they're up against York Knights. That should be a good game. Loch Lane, they will take on Hunslet ARLFC.
See, that's another lip-smacking tie, that, isn't it, really, to be honest? I mean, Loch Lane just narrowly avoided the playoffs last year in the Premier Division. Hunslet won the entire thing.
That is going to be a real tasty one. It is. And that was another one when I saw it came out as well. I said exactly the same thing. Widnes Vikings, they will take on Doncaster, and then it's the Battle of the Londoners. Hammersmith Hills Hoist, they will take on West Warriors.
I've got to smile at that tie, because I wonder whether they wanted to play somebody else and get somebody else to go there. But ultimately, they're up against Southern Conference League opposition.
I believe the grounds are only 5 miles.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's how close they are. And you would have thought all those places they could have gone.
Yeah.
I must admit, I felt sorry and glad in some ways, because obviously, I mean, the well-matched sides.
It certainly puts the Southern Conference League on the map, doesn't it? That does, and particularly when they look at the results that they've had. I mean, the North Stone Jugs, the 2 sides that they've beaten, have they? So Hammersmith Hills Hoist defeating West Bowling, like I mentioned. West Warriors defeating Rochdale Mayfield.
And then next on the cards, we got Rochdale Hornets. Well, they were drawn, and they will play Midlands Hurricanes. And Barrow Raiders, they will welcome Oldham to their ground. Oldham, that should be a good game, though.
Yeah, well, they had a good start at the weekend, did Oldham. They've done a massive recruitment campaign. Sean Long, of course, coaching the side this year. And they defeated Halifax in the first round of the AB Sundex 1895 Cup on Sunday. So, yeah, that's interesting. Good start to the season, that.
And then finally, Thatcherweath Crusaders for their sort of joy of that long travel and beating the Navy. They're up against Featherstone Rovers.
That's a similar sort of cup tie to what Siddal have, by proposition.
Yeah.
Fev have been thereabouts at championship level for a few years now, haven't they? They've still got a decent side this year, even though they have sharpened up the money that they're spending somewhat.
Yeah.
But when you look at that first 17 that Featherstone can put out, that's really, really competitive. And Thatto, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how they go against them, to be honest.
Yeah, I must admit, I've not heard anything yet with whether that will be at Close Street, is it?
Mm-hmm.
I've not heard whether that's going to be there. I'm sure they would love to take it, though, because I know they've took some...
well, they have. They've had a couple of professional games down there before, haven't they? So they've had to do a bit of work there to ensure they can take place and, get car parking sorted and, do a little bit of work around the ground and stuff. But
I mean, they've got the experience of being able to do that, haven't they?
They have got the experience. I recall a game where they played against Dewsbury a couple of years ago, and then they played against North Wales Crusaders last season.
Yeah.
I remember going along to that
and
having a chat with Mike Woods, who then disappeared, and thought, oh no, he's appeared on the touchline again, we're going to lose. Because I had that sort of experience with a couple of clubs, didn't I, unfortunately, last year.
You put the hoodoo on a few of them, didn't you? But just got to mention, by the way, Thatcherweath Crusaders, nice to see the social media sort of just taking a little bit of a forward step. It's never been bad, don't get me wrong, but just a couple of new things coming in there, and I believe they've got a new social media manager helping things along and doing very well, I must admit.
Yeah, they've got Claire Pike has stepped up to the mantle this year, and she's got a few plans in place, I think, for further getting the word of Thatto out there and talking more about what happens at community clubs. So
and that's important.
It is important,
certainly for a club the size of Thatcherweath, and not just at the open age side. It's all the age groups they have underneath, and obviously all the parents, and then there's the women's section, girls sections that they've got. So there's a lot of information that needs to be packaged and put out in the right way, and that's looking good.
I think so as well. I watched a couple of those interview pieces, and they were good. They were entertaining.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want your club, people from your club to watch those, and obviously it's going to be aspired to be in that home age side at some point.
And people from other clubs as well, because there's little things that I think everybody can learn off each other.
Yes.
Certainly some of the things that I've seen and some of the people that I've got to work with over the last couple of years, they've had a direct influence about where we're taking what we're doing this season. To another level. So it all helps, and if we get ideas and we get people who want to do things with us and move forward, then we're going to entertain those ideas as well, aren't we?
Yep, we're here to help a hand wherever we can, and if we can give any advice of things that we might have done wrong in the past, so hopefully you won't do the same, or if we can give you an helping hand into just moving things forward, get in touch with us. We'll certainly give you our best advice.
A couple of things moving forward, just before we go. It's the big Des Drummond Memorial game this weekend with Bolton Rugby League Club. So it's the old boys up against their first team. That's going to take place this coming Saturday. So get yourself over to Bolton Rugby Union Club for that one, if at all possible. And also as well, we've had some sad news from the world of the National Conference League. So Eastmoor Dragons have pulled out of the National Conference this season, unfortunately. They are still going to be taking their place in the Yorkshire Men's League, but they feel that they've not got the strength in depth that they need to be able to compete, which is considering some of the results that they got last season, is a real blow as far as I'm concerned. I know that they had a lot of young players that were coming through, so whether there's a few things that have happened there, I'm not sure. But our thoughts, our best wishes go to that club, and I'm certainly hoping that they go away and they look at it in the same way that Hewith had to do. Because if you think about it, Hewith did exactly the same thing a few years ago. They stepped out of the National Conference League. They took those players away from the limelight a little bit and said, you know what, we need time to develop, we need time to get back, we'll apply to come back into the National Conference League, and look, they've been flying ever since. So I'm thinking the same thing could happen with Eastmoor.
Yeah, and it's a sensible approach at the end of the day, because if you've got, say for instance, I'm not saying that this is the case, but if you've got an open age side where a lot of your experienced players have certainly said, look, it's time to call it a day, I've had enough type of thing, the body won't take anymore, which does happen, let's not hide behind it, and you've got, say, an 18s team who are playing, you put them in regular against open age sides, and it's a hard league, is the NCL, and it's hard enough in the Yorkshire men's that they'll find, but the bottom line is it's a sensible approach, and the last thing you want is them to stay in there and racking up big scores against them, because that doesn't do anybody's confidence any good, and it can be detrimental in the long term. So if they can be more competitive, lower down at the moment, so they get a little bit more things structured together that allows them to come back, then and the Hewith reference that you made there, Park, is absolutely spot on.
Also, as well, one final thing. It's a big weekend as far as England Community Lions are concerned as well this coming weekend, because on Saturday over at Pilkington Rex, there's not one but two trial games that are taking place. So if you're thinking of wanting a bit of a rugby league fix, get yourself over if you can. I'm sure that you'll be entertained quite royally, because the first game, it'll be starting at 1 o'clock. It's Reds v Blues, I'm led to believe, and this is a trial game to again look at what players are available for the under-19s European Championships, which are going to be taking place later this year. We still haven't heard of a venue of where this is going to take place. I'm hoping that there's going to be some news appearing on that very soon on that front, but again, we've sort of been to these trial games before, haven't we? And we've seen some tremendous players. There's some fantastic kids that are knocking around, and there has been a few that were part of the panel last year who've moved on into the pro ranks, so there's certainly one player that I can think of who's over at Lee for the reserve setup this season. I was speaking to Harry Sheridan at the weekend,
who's at
Wakefield, and again, what a fantastic prospect he is as well. But this is what you want as a programme. You want players to be pushing their way forward and being selected for higher honours and to go on further in the game. And it's nice from my point of view that I've got to see some of these players at a very young age, and then I don't know, you feel almost paternal towards him. It's like, that's our lad. He's doing himself justice. Look
Uncle
at him there.
Dave's here again, stalking me.
Look at him there. He's doing himself proud, him and his family. And I've spoke to him before, so it's great, But it is, in all seriousness, it is a fantastic, thing. Is that?
Well, I remember going watching it at Pilks last year, and they did it. They split the squads up and they played. I think it was about 4 different games, didn't they? So everybody. But seeing the way that it's done, in the fact that you've got guys who all they've ever done, and only maybe have played against each other, and suddenly they're playing with each other. So you're looking at how do they communicate, how do things work out that way, And then you see, the guys who have the flair week in and week out for the community side, suddenly, putting it in, with guys who are not used to running the ball with. And that is really good. And then following those on, that's great to watch. And obviously then you see them coming through last year when it was the European finals in Italy. I mean, watching that and watching the lads, like you say, you feel you know them then because obviously you interviewing a lot of the lads as well. So I'm watching the games and then seeing how they've gone on, where they are now. And it is, you're right, it's like being a teacher to a certain extent, isn't it?
Not another schools reference.
I've got the schools analogy.
Not another one.
Yeah.
Not another one. Anyway, just to round that section off, the Open Age is also having a trial match as well, because obviously later on this year there's a trip coming to Australia. So again, it gives a chance for Paul Couch to have a look at just some of the players that he could call on. So that's all happening at Pilkington Rex on Saturday afternoon. I think I've just about summed everything up there, Steve. Have I missed anything?
I don't think you have, Parker, and considering we had nothing to talk about, really. I mean, we've, a couple of good interviews there as well, which is really, really good.
Yeah, we'd like to thank all our guests yet again for giving their time up. Our thanks go out to Clockface for the way they've welcomed us over the last couple of weeks. We'll be at a rugby league ground near you very soon. Do keep your eyes peeled on our social media and we will reveal all.
Every tackle, every try, every scrum. Green Cooling is proud to be part of the Community Rugby League family.